The program that you're about to hear contains material that may be offensive to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Go ahead. Make my day.
2, 1, 0.
Hello and welcome to the 100th episode of Write and Writer, the official podcast of the Washington Free Beacon, sponsored by HoneyBook. I am your host, Elizabeth Harrington. You can follow me on Twitter at LizWFB. The Free Beacon podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a review. Joining me from the right today is Free Beacon Editor-in-Chief Matthew Continetti. You may remember him from such mainstream media programs as NPR's Morning Edition and WBUR News. You can follow him on Twitter at Continetti. Hello, Matt.
Hello, Liz.
And further to Matt's right is Free Beacon President Aaron Harrison, who shockingly has never stormed off his own podcast. We're not exactly sure what he does around the office, but he signs the checks, and that's good enough for us. Hello, Harrison.
Good morning, Liz. Now, in honor of the 100th episode of Write and Writer, and in conjunction with the fine journalistic integrity that we do ascribe to here at Write and Writer, I do need to make a correction from the last episode.
Oh.
I botched one of the medical terms. Referring to morphology of the head of a sperm when I said motility, which is actually relating to
the show for this.
Well, that's in relation to the movement of the head. Morphology is the shape. So I just wanted to make that clear for everyone.
We're all about facts are facts here. All right. Up first on Write and Writer, President Trump held a raucous rally in El Paso, Texas Monday night where he told many thousands that the Green New Deal sounds like a high school term paper that got a low mark and that the Democrats are coming for your money and they're coming for your freedom. So true. But across the street, captain of the crew team and male nanny Robert O'Rourke took a break from his journey to find himself to tell a very small gathering of libs that El Paso is the safest city in the country. Meanwhile, congressional negotiators say they have reached an agreement in principle to avoid another government shutdown, giving $1.3 billion for 55 miles of fencing and a reduction in the number of ICE detention beds. Matt, should Trump take the deal?
I believe he should take the deal. I'm of the view that he should take the deal. Why? Well, the government shutdown did not help Donald Trump politically. He's only now recovering some of the ground he lost during the shutdown. The money is more than nothing. It's not exactly what he wanted.
Yeah.
Not even close. But it's more than what he had, which was zero. And this deal does not have the hard cap on the detention beds,
right?
Which is what was floated over the weekend, and which would have been reason, in my view, to oppose the deal. So it has a limitation, but I've always been squishes like me are always of the view that you take half a loaf rather than none, and so I would both take this deal and announce an executive order, not necessarily an emergency declaration, but a new executive order that would allow him to shift around funds to finance additional wall construction.
Right. Harrison, what do you think about that? I mean, because he's probably not going to get anything more than this from the libs.
Take what they give you and then push harder.
And then, yeah.
So some wall is better than no wall, as the safety record of the city of El Paso, Texas demonstrates.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure what statistics Beta O'Rourke was citing last night.
Yes, Beta O'Rourke. That's the new name.
I mean, is there anybody more beta than Beto in this race? The male nanny? The guy who got to take, like a decade off of his life on a journey of self-exploration as a male nanny in New York City?
I would say,
male,
the last
rich kid privilege.
The last Democratic president also had like that missing decade of his life.
Right.
Remember when he was hanging out in Pakistan and Indonesia?
What I don't understand the left's argument on the wall was perfectly encapsulated by the Beta O'Rourke rally last night, because he's sitting there in a city that has a wall.
I know. I don't understand their argument.
How many lives?
It just plays into Trump's argument.
How many lives will building the wall cost? I would love somebody to ask the left that. And then ask them, how many lives does not having a wall cost? And I would venture to say that not having a wall costs more lives than having a wall. So I want to err on the side of protecting American life which means build the wall. So I will. Who cares about the stupid deal? All right, we know that the Democrats run the House of Representatives. Just get the deal done. Take the $1.5 billion, and then push harder, as Matt says, to build more of the wall. It's an issue in 2020. Like even if we got all the money for the wall, if we got $50 billion to build the entire thing, this thing would not be completed by the end of the 2020 cycle. So let's just start it now. Let's get the process rolling and make it a referendum on part of the 2020 election.
All right. Up next, the 2020 Democratic field grows as Pocahontas launched her campaign by screaming about capitalism and locking up President Trump. In between throwing binders at staff members, Amy Klobuchar announced she is running for president and railed against climate change during a blizzard in Minnesota, by the end of which she looked like a snowman woman. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is cracking herself up about her past marijuana use, which must have been hilarious to all the inmates she kept locked up in overcrowded prisons for their cheap labor. Harrison, who's had the best launch so far?
Trump. You saw it last night. Why are these Dems so angry? He makes this point in the rally last night. It is literally, you look at the left, all right? We actually, I know I'm harping on the rally a little bit, but it was just such a great microcosm of what's going on in this country, is that you had Trump.
It's like a shot of vitamin J with those rallies.
Vitamin J is going to be on blast coming up. It is going to be taking off like a rocket. I would say we're going to debut the new Vitamin J agenda probably in May of this year, and then we're going to ride that all the way to November 2020. But let's talk about what happened last night. We had a 6,500 seat arena that had a very nice 69,000 people sign up to take part in a very happy Trump rally. They were singing songs. They were doing chants. It was like the happiest place on earth. But it's infiltrated by these angry Democrats that come in there and disrupt.
Kept interrupting.
And scream and have to be hogtied and dragged out of there. Like they should be, but they're just rude people. Meanwhile, at Betta's rally across the city, there's no protest by Trump people. We're being respectful.
They've got better things to do, like go to the Trump rally.
Could you imagine what would happen to a Trump protester at a Beto O'Rourke rally if you walked over there? Like, they would be beaten to death. Instead, at a Trump rally, when we get the left-wing protesters, the whole place starts to serenade you with na 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 na. Hey.
You don't have
Goodbye.
to
It's
do
really
the whole
nice.
song.
I might sing.
I know you.
But back to these, back to the Dems.
Back to
the 2020s,
yeah.
Matt.
If you look at the polls, the person who has had the best month is Kamala Harris, because she went from back of the pack to now basically number 3 after Biden and Sanders, both of whom are there largely for name ID reasons. Yeah. And she's done so at the cost of Beto, who I think one of the reasons staged this counter rally was to remind everybody that he also is thinking of running for president. Another person apparently thinking of running for president, Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York, who is going to New Hampshire at the end of the week. And I think de Blasio is saying to himself, look at all these jokers.
There's not enough commies in this race.
We need another Marxist. We need another Marxist to join the fray. And maybe I'm going to be the one to do it. So the field grows. There are no standouts. And I think a lot of moderate-ish Democrats, meaning business-friendly Democrats.
What?
They're social liberals, but they're friendly to business because they like making money. Mainly through political connections. But these business-friendly Democrats are on the sidelines waiting for Biden's decision. And he needs to make a decision soon, because otherwise then you're going to get people coming in or waiting too long. And if you look, for example, at people like Hickenlooper, the governor of Colorado, former governor of Colorado, or McAuliffe, former governor of Virginia. I think even Bloomberg, who's now saying that he might not wait for Biden, but there were reports that he was going to wait. They're all kind of saying, well, what are you doing, Joe?
Yeah.
And so a lot rests on whether Biden decides to run or not.
Well, there's one thing that I've noticed from all these rollouts is it's really put the media in kind of a bind right here. I was reading Brian Stelter this morning, the media critic for CNN. And his whole thing was, his takeaway from Betta's rally last night and the rollouts over the weekend was that CNN and MSNBC are not mirror images of Fox because Fox carried the Trump rally and CNN and MSNBC didn't carry the O'Rourke rally. And I don't think that's really the case because in the meantime, MSNBC and CNN are like fact checking the Trump rally in live stream or in real time. But what they have is they don't like. There's an oblivious blind spot in the media to say that like, okay, well, that doesn't prove that they aren't mirror images. It just proves that they are the center of the Democratic primary. They can't cover Beto O'Rourke's rally in entirety because Liz Warren and Kamala Harris and Bill de Blasio and Bloomberg are all going to be on the horn screaming at them about like their next visit to an ice cream stand in New Hampshire. So it's just that is where that is really that well, is and it also, what it all is.
You're right, and it also says that Trump remains a central figure in American politics. That no counter rally measures up to a MAGA rally.
No way.
Everything is about Trump. And even the people who hate Trump would rather watch Trump in hatred than watch the speech of any one of the Smurfs running against him.
All right, up next, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar was forced to apologize, sort of, after going on another anti-Semitic rant on Twitter. Quote, "It's all about the Benjamins, baby," Omar said in response to Republican Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy's promise to take action against Omar and her terrorist-sympathizing gal pal Rashida Tlaib's criticism of Israel as hypnotizing the world. Omar then retweeted a criticism of her anti-Semitic tweet, which said that she might as well call us hook-nosed. Nancy Pelosi and other Democratic leaders condemned Omar's anti-Semitic language, and she was then forced to, quote, unequivocally apologize and admit anti-Semitism is real. But at the same time, Omar said she had to reaffirm the problematic role of lobbyists in our politics, including AIPAC. Matt, sounds like she still thinks it's all about the Benjamins.
She's bad.
It's bad.
Very bad lady. And we were talking about who had the best week or the best launch. I'll tell you who has not had a good launch, and that's Nancy Pelosi,
right?
Who resumed her speakership after a Republican interregnum, and it was all like, here's our Iron Lady, the Democrats' Iron Lady. She's coming back. She's going to set the agenda. And look at how her first 6 weeks in power have gone. She was brought into power in the midst of a government shutdown, which kind of stepped on everything. Then there was the constant launching of presidential campaigns, so she hardly makes the news, right? And when the Congress is in the news, it's not about Nancy Pelosi trying to lower prescription drug prices. It's about Rashida Tlaib saying on day one, let's impeach the MFer. And then it goes on for Omar's various anti-Semitic remarks, to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her Green New Dream, and praising the anti-Semitic Jeremy Corbyn, the labor leader in England. This is a real problem for Nancy Pelosi, and it all just helps the president, in my view.
Harrison.
This is great. I love the chaos on the left.
It is chaos.
The media and the Democratic Party spent the previous 6 years obsessing over the Freedom Caucus and how bad they are.
I know. All they wanted was lower taxes and no Obamacare.
And
radical. Oh, don't raise the debt ceiling.
Yeah, exactly. So
these people want to get rid of planes and cows.
And Israel.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, it is just it's just desserts for them. They're not serious fundamentally. I mean, what is the Democratic agenda in the House? The only piece of legislation I have seen
is just against Trump.
It's the cow fart agenda.
Right.
Also, how are you going to get rid of these cows? What are the environmentalist or the animal rights wackos in the Democratic coalition going to do? Are we going to start? We have to go slit all their throats?
Cory Booker has a plan. Because we'll be vegan,
right?
So but they still fart when they're alive.
Well, you just phase them out over time.
Right. Well,
you just don't breed any new cows.
But
not like you cow slaughter.
Cows, though, like the bull gets the cows, and they make more cows, and those little cows fart. Right. And if you're not killing them, then they're not farting.
No, it's like pet. Being spaying and neutering your pets. Under the vegan president, we'll just neuter the cows.
I think that if we do that, then
Cory Booker's
steers, chief diet. I will be convinced on this if the only stipulation is that Cory Booker will subsist primarily on Rocky Mountain oysters.
Now it's time to check in with our sponsor, HoneyBook. Do you own a small business? Frustrated by dealing with back and forth emails, endless paperwork, and getting paid? HoneyBook.com can help you spend less time handling the administration work and more time doing what you love. HoneyBook is an all-in-one business management platform for creative small businesses. HoneyBook makes it easy to streamline your process with client and calendar management tools and custom branded brochures, proposals, and contracts. You can even get e-signatures, generate invoices, and get paid faster, all within one online system. Over 75,000 photographers, designers, event professionals, and other solo entrepreneurs save hundreds, if not thousands of hours a year with HoneyBook. And that's why we've partnered with HoneyBook.com to offer the Washington Free Beacon listeners 50% off the first year of HoneyBook with the promo code WFB. So get started at HoneyBook.com today and use the promo code WFB for 50% off your first year. Again, that's HoneyBook.com, promo code WFB. Now it is time to check in on all the legal matters with Chief Legal Analyst Victorino Mattis. Hello, Vic.
Hello, Liz.
Been very busy. We haven't commented on the whole Bezos story because we needed to get your expert legal opinion to sort it all out for us.
Well, and it's taken me months to put it all together. That's why I've been away for so long from Right and Writer. That and my law school at nights, as you know, that I'm doing. Okay, so we now have what's emerging, if you will, as the Bezos-Pecker affair. You know, it's rearing its ugly head, if you will. Here's what we know. Okay, so on January 9, Amazon founder and CEO Jeff Bezos announced he was splitting with his wife Mackenzie after 25 years. Shortly after that, the National Enquirer basically takes credit for the split, saying it had spent 4 months investigating Bezos, and then it releases some texts from the alleged mistress, girlfriend Lauren Sanchez, who is a TV personality, a former anchor. Bezos then launches his own investigation into the Enquirer investigation, not to mention the Washington Post, which he owns, also investigating this, okay? And they're trying to figure out, how did they get the texts? What is the motivation? Is it a political motivation? Is the president behind this nefarious plot? Apparently, the person behind it is Lauren Sanchez's brother, Michael Sanchez, who had worked for President Trump. I had no idea he was dirty. Sanchez, I'm talking about. Anyway, on January 20th...
Thanks, Vic. That was the line, right?
Yeah, that was the one, Aaron. Okay, so on January 28th, the National Enquirer published the full story, including the supposed intimate texts between Bezos and Sanchez. But on February 7, Bezos fires back in Medium, right? He writes that he's been targeted by the Enquirer and the parent company AMI and David Pecker, the chairman, for blackmail and extortion. He publishes the emails from AMI's chief content officer telling a Bezos lawyer to halt the Washington Post investigation, and if not, they will release 10 more photos. So what are the photos?
Photos.
Yeah, this is what we're talking about. This is what everyone wants to know.
We don't have to get into
No.
detail here. I'm sure people understood
Yes.
what they've read this before.
You want me to skip that part?
I think you might just want to skip. They are prurient. When you
Nobody-
say that they are
Nobody
prurient,
No one wants the
goodness.
mental picture.
Yeah,
of
there
this.
goes
Yeah,
half my
I-
report, man.
well, that's fine.
So much preparation.
Gives you more time to get back to your studies.
Oh, good. Yes.
And
I'm
what
in
law
the middle of
school? What law
torts.
school are you attending tonight? I'm just like
It's actually a high school. It's a high school. It's one of those pre-law classes that they have for the kids.
it's a correspondence
Yeah,
course.
something like that.
For those scoring at home, the pictures are of Bezos'
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the gist.
Yeah.
Thanks,
okay.
Harrison.
Thank you for that. So the question is about blackmail and extortion, right? But it's kind of hard to prove in many ways. Is the information obtained from a privileged source, like a lawyer? No. There usually needs to be some sort of a money element in extortion. Blackmail, on the other hand, you're threatening to harm somebody's character in exchange for action or inaction. Could possibly be blackmail. We'll see where this goes. Anyway, everybody's lauding Bezos for his courage and in standing up. In his words, quote, "I prefer to stand up, roll this log over, and see what crawls out," much like the photos.
If only people could have seen the pantomime that you just performed.
Better they didn't. Better for everyone that they did not.
All right. Well,
That was an excellent summary. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank
Back
you,
to you,
Vic.
Liz.
All right. Up first in our culture round, a new type of yoga has emerged where practitioners use beer and cursing to relieve stress. Rage Yoga at Brash Brewery in Houston, Texas is a, quote, practice that involves breathing, stretching, mood draws, yoga postures, and a lot of bad humor, says instructor Ashley Dusich. The classes allow you to have a safe space to let go of your frustration and rage in a healthy way, and then also wash it all away with some ice cold beer. Matt, finally some yoga we can get behind.
What's the name of the therapy where you go out into the woods and just scream?
It's kind of like this, yeah.
Screaming. Well, there's primal scream.
I thought that was just the liberal protest. Don't they do that outside the White House?
Therapy.
Well, that's what Hillary did. When they found Hillary
Trump.
screaming in the woods after the election. That's what she was doing.
I'm a fan of this method. So I think there's something to it. And
Gotta get the rage out.
especially if you combine it with drinking.
Right. Seems
Basically,
safe.
on the one hand, you express your rage, and the other, you dull your senses into forgetting your problems for a temporary amount of time. So, sounds like a time-tested stress relief strategy.
Harrison, you do this just without the yoga poses.
Yeah, it's called, I've been to several alcoholic beverage distributors and bars in Houston, Texas, and most of the places there just allow you to walk in and get totally smashed on about 12 beers and then just pick somebody and start throwing punches at them. That's normally the way it works.
Therapeutic.
So I don't understand.
Exercise routine.
I don't understand why you got to inject yoga into something that's like this
You
time-worn
gotta attract
tradition.
the libs to do it, I don't know.
Or do you really? Is a bar better with a lid? Let's ask. People need to start asking their questions. They're starting to ban Trump hats and Trump supporters from bars here in D.C. They're being Ted Cruz is being shouted out of restaurants. There's there's safe spaces for the libs in D.C. It is a crazy place
It makes
right
me
now.
want to go out and wear my Trump hat.
But honestly, who's going to go to a bar that doesn't? Trump people are the most fun people to be around. They're awesome. Look at the rally last night. What a party! That's what you want at a bar. You want a party atmosphere. You want people saying some funny shit. You want people to be able to throw back a few beers and not worry about it. Maybe they got to throw some punches every once in a while.
So much.
I know.
Can't
It's
you
like
tell?
the 10th
He's
rep for
bringing it
every
all back.
topic.
I've been on
What? It's been like
I didn't sleep last
3
night.
whole months.
I didn't sleep last night.
It had been a while.
My maggot tank has
And it
been
was a good
fully
one.
recharged, and I am ready for 2019.
You're revved up.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, up next, Wright and Writer is here with recommendations for this Valentine's Day. Hooters is giving away free wings to customers willing to shred photos of their exes. And Waffle House is taking Valentine's Day reservations and will offer a special menu. Harrison, it's no Cheesecake Factory, but sounds good.
It'll have to do. And let me just say that going to Hooters on Valentine's Day was a time-honored tradition in my singlehood. I thought Hooters was... I still have a great regard for Hooters in my life. One day, probably on her 6th birthday, Lily Ivanka and I are probably going to go to Hooters, and we're going to hang out.
Her first Hooters
They're super
experience.
nice to kids there, and
Family friendly.
yes, and it's a place that Dad likes to go. So I think that what we really have on Valentine's Day is we need positive outlets like this for the lovelorn, for the scorned, and this is a healthy way to shred a picture of the ex, get some free wings, pound a few
Too
beers.
bad you don't even actually have to bring the pictures. You can do it online.
Well, that's
And-
what everybody does anyway nowadays.
and
It doesn't happen
virtually
unless it happens on Twitter.
burn, or pelt them with darts.
I
want to
get
a coupon.
I want to get our legal analyst in here because you also, I believe, you represent several large fast food chains. And if you had,
Yes.
if you had to choose between a Waffle House and the IHOP, which should be taking reservations? Because I mean, leave Hooters aside. The idea that Waffle House is taking reservations, is it that good? Is that popular?
Yeah, and I've been to Waffle House down in Jacksonville, Florida. It's the real deal, but there's plenty of counter space. I don't think there's ever that big of a problem getting a table or a spot at the counter. And I love counter, and you can bring kids to the counter. It's not like, there are a lot of restaurants you cannot bring kids to a counter because there's alcohol. But you can go to the Waffle House. There's plenty of room. I would definitely say reservations for IHOP. I'd like option C, which is Perkins. If anyone knows what a Perkins is, it's fantastic. Oh, great breakfast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
All
great.
right.
I always just like going into Waffle House because you get to watch them make the food, so you can actually, you can request a certain amount of hair to put in your food, and you get to see it. So that's what I like about it.
That's great.
All right. Up next, some so-called men are trying to make meat-free eating a sexy choice. The Sydney Morning Herald profiled Simon Hill, a physiotherapist and nutrition master's student who, guess what, has a blog and a podcast about being vegan. It wasn't so long ago that Hill was on a, quote, bro science diet that consisted of chicken and sweet potato, eggs, and red meat. Quote, like many others, the paper reports, he believed that meat-free diets seemed less masculine and somehow less vital. Quote, I had the stereotypical view that vegans weren't exactly a picture of health, the 32-year-old says. It was a diet that led to you being skinny and weak and pale. Harrison, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. Look at Bill Clinton. The guy looks like he's on death's door. And he probably is. I mean, the dude had a serious heart attack about a decade ago, but he's adopted a vegan diet ever since. And like all of a sudden, like he shakes, his mouth is agape, he is pasty, he is ashen. I just don't even know who would think that being a vegan is a proper life choice when you've lived a life of meat in the past.
Too much soy,
It's a lot of soy, but, I don't get it. I mean, Cory Booker's going to try to run on this platform. I just don't think that this is a lifestyle that a lot of people are going to adapt. Now, Booker is a kind of a curious choice to be a vegan because Booker is not, the most trim and slim dude out there. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's just eating a lot of, vegan cakes.
No, he had eggs that didn't align with his spirit.
Well, there's a ton of fat in the vegan diet. There is a ton of fat and carbs in the vegan diet. So you can totally overcompensate by just pigging out on junk food that's made for vegans. It exists. It's not meat. So, the whole like pasty, translucent looking cancer-stricken people that walk around and claim to be vegans or libertarians or whatever. I've never been able to identify with them.
I liked how you mentioned that he has both a blog and a podcast.
Right.
Because I think every vegan must have a blog and a podcast. That's
right, because you have to evangelize about being a vegan.
That's all it's about. It's about communicating your life, why you are virtuous.
Right.
And people should join you, and if you don't, then you're corrupt,
and you're hurting the planet, right?
And you're hurting the planet. It used to be that's an interesting change because it used to be this is a healthier or I don't want to eat animals, but now it's been subsumed into the larger climate ideology, right? And so it just says now this is bad for the planet.
Well, it's part of the Green New Deal.
Liz, I just want to say one of the things that disturbed me about the Cory Booker story about him being vegan was his bragging about the amazing, great fake cheese that he enjoys, including fake cheese from a pizza place in New Jersey. If you're a senator from New Jersey and you're eating fake cheese pizza, you should be impeached for that. It's terrible.
And did you notice the anti-veganism in that Super Bowl commercial? It was one of the insurance companies, I think it's the Elevator. And they're riding up the elevator,
the vegan
and
dinner.
one of the brand was it? Do you recall?
It was for Hyundai.
It was a Hyundai commercial. That was a car commercial, right? And they're on the elevator. And is that Will Arnett?
Jason Bateman?
Jason Bateman. Yeah. Jason Bateman's the elevator operator, and they're going up and down and different floors before they get to the great cars. And they open one of the floors, and it's like a vegan dinner party. And someone says we're having meatloaf for dinner, and the meatloaf slides off. Did you not see this?
No,
the meatloaf slides off the tray into the floor and makes a weird plopping sound. And the look of disgust on the people's faces, it just shows you how
that's a good ad.
Booker has a lot of work ahead of him if he's going to promote
you can't convince
veganism.
people this.
These Democrats,
disgusting.
The Democrats running for office are just not normal people.
Exactly, they're
not
weirdos.
Well. These are weird people running for office.
And compare the vegan who likes to the man who likes his steak well done with ketchup, which is more in the American grain.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's edition of Right and Writer. I'd like to give a special thanks to our producer, LB4, and of course our Free Beacon guests, Matthew Continetti, Aaron Harrison, and Victorino Mattis. Remember, find us on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Just search for Free Beacon. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a positive review, like listener Mike Gardner 9, who says, today is going to be an extra spicy Right and Writer. Harrison is always fired up after a Trump rally. Couldn't have been more right.
Bingo.
Until next time.